Nerd Rage Renegades.
Hey everyone, welcome to Renegade Reviews. These are your reviews for the week of May 31st, 2018. The books that will be hitting the shelves on that day. So if you're listening to this on Thursday when it drops, these are the books that happened yesterday.
Yes, indeed. No, that was 30th. May 30th, sorry. It's,
yeah, May 30th. No, yeah, May 30th. Yes. We're recording. Yes, May 30th.
So 31st is Thursday. So.
I am not here right now. My brain is all over the place. My hands are in a lot of different pies.
I was thinking because we're recording this on New Comic Book Day, so it's like I knew today was the 30th, so I was thinking I don't think we want to be like getting that at least that wrong. I better correct that real quick.
I thought it was Tuesday. Totally honest, I thought it was Tuesday.
Living in that RP world.
I know.
Time moves differently.
Time moves differently there. It's been like in that world, it could be like 5 days and like an hour.
I know. The sun goes up and down.
Up, down. It's raining. It's bright. But we got comic books, and that's all right. So, I want to start with IDW because this week, now that we got everything situated with IDW, we've been able to do their books for a few weeks now. I finally get this is something that I've been wanting my entire life. All right. A review copy of Sonic the Hedgehog.
It's like achievement unlocked.
Sonic the Hedgehog number 5 dropped this week. Of course, IDW picking up the book from Archie after when the rights ran out. IDW picked it up, brought over Ian Flynn, the longtime writer of the Sonic the Hedgehog comic books, and he's continuing the story here in IDW. And for a while, I was wondering if it was going to be, continuing what was happening in the Archie books. That was years of stories that they had built, since the early '90s when that book first premiered. And then a little bit of a soft reboot after the whole Ken Penders lawsuit that happened, and they had to reset the universe because they actually ended up losing a lot of the characters that were prevalent in the book, like Jeffrey St. John. A lot of the extended cast were taken away from them because Ken Penders said, "You cannot use any of my creations."
Sort of, just sell the creations. Don't be a
right
petty
now. I
jackass.
have heard and read that he said they could use certain characters if they acknowledged that the story arc he wrote, Mobius 25 years later, was actually canon. But I don't think I think they wanted that to be kind of like an alternate. It was like that was like an alternate future like story arc. And
I just love that a comic creator. That's the linchpin of the whole argument. Yeah. Make my shit canon. It's just funny. I don't know why that's funny. It's not typical of any other business. Something like that is in the fucking contract negotiation.
I know, right? But Archie didn't do that. They went with a new direction. But like I said, Ian Flynn is back. He's writing the new stories. And this week, coming back, Tracy Yardley doing the artwork for the book. Of course, Tracy, a former guest on our old show. I actually bought half his comic collection, his Sonic book.
Yeah, that's true. I remember that.
That was a great day.
He's recently been active on Twitter. I've been seeing him tweet here and there.
I'm gonna pull him back. Yeah, I'm gonna pull him back on the other show, on the main show. But 3 covers this week with Sonic the Hedgehog. One with by Kieran Gates, another one by Jamal Peppers, and then Natalie Fordrain. All 3 covers, so 3 covers this week. Inks in this book by Jim Amash, colors by Matt Herms. So basically they've been establishing this new story arc. They did a whole month where it was a weekly book for a month, get the first 4 issues out, and then it goes to its normal monthly routine. Introduced some classic characters like Tails, Amy Rose, Knuckles, brought in a couple of new characters. And they're all basically the war with Robotnik / Dr. Eggman is over. But his robot badniks are still terrorizing the countryside. So Sonic is going from town to town, destroying the baddies, meeting up with his friends to destroy these badniks, while still trying to figure out where exactly Eggman is. So he ends up going to in this issue, he ends up meeting up with the Chaotix team, which is SBO the Chameleon, Vector the Crocodile, and Charmy Bee. And they find him. They actually find him in this town, but apparently he has amnesia. He has no recollection of anything that has happened in the past. And he's now known as the Tinker. And the issue is basically them trying to decide, is he faking? He's done this before. You know. And then, of course, stopping these badniks that are showing up. So it's kind of this like setup for what's happened with Robotnik, while still showing there's somebody else pulling the strings. They show a panel of somebody else sitting behind the Eggman big chair pulling the strings, which I'm hoping it's Snively. I'm hoping it's Snively. Please bring me Snively back. But in this one, they actually do kind of... this is the first one where they kind of establish that things have happened before. Because there's a splash page with about 4 panels on it that actually show things that have happened in the past. One of them being the broken Mobius world. Because for a long time, because there's like a lot of the key characters from the Archie comics, like Sally, Princess Sally, Antoine, Bunny Rabbit, Rotor Walrus, they haven't shown up yet, and I hope they do. But it was always wondering, is the IDW universe connected to the Archie universe? So I think it is, because of them showing the broken Mobius world, which was the last kind of story arcs in the Archie series.
Yeah, it's kind of it's at least they're like with ROM, and they redid ROM, right? And then they just completely changed the back. There's no connection to Marvel's ROM or anything. It's a completely new thing. So I mean, they're honoring the old storyline.
Yeah, you know, so, and that's what I've been I wanted to see if that was going to happen. There's still, I mean, this is the only issue 5 of the new series. There's so much more to do, but when you're talking about a book that had over 200 issues, close to 300 issues, and had just so much deep lore, and yes, a lot of that lore was kind of put together by Ken Penders, which is why it really kind of sucks, because there was a long haul in that Sonic series that was just, it was dark. I mean, it was dark. It went from being this like kids book to being this really gripping, dramatic adult book.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah. So it's like I'm enjoying it though. I there was like a year where I didn't have any Sonic comics, and I was bummed, but it's back, and I'm absolutely loving it.
That's good. We were asking about it at C2E2 this year, and you got a little inside information there earlier.
I did. I picked up the con exclusive. I picked up a poster. So they did say there's Ian's bringing a lot of stuff to the plate. So I'm excited. I'm very excited.
I think not only being the number one Howard the Duck fan in the world, I think that you're pretty close to the top of Sonic fans too.
I mean, yeah, there are some Sonic fans out there that they have entire room. You know, it's like those pictures you see of like the biggest Pokemon collection, and like their entire house is just filled with Pokemon. I'm not like that.
I have way too many interests to focus just on one. I've got so much random stuff.
Like, I can't have every bit of memorabilia that's Sonic, but I mean, I've got a Sonic backpack over here. I've got two Sonic plushes, which one is my original Sonic, the original Sonic plush. I'm talking OG original. fucking plush from like the 90s. I got a Sonic
Remember,
3.
we're on Comic Shop Radio, so we have to watch what we say.
Oh yeah, pardon me. I've got the statue from Sonic Mania. I mean, look what I got right here in my hand. I know the people at home can't see it, but look at that. I even have my Sonic 3 and Knuckles cartridge right here on my desk because I was playing it the other day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a huge Sonic fan, and I'm glad that the book is back.
Indeed. Well, from IDW, I'm trying to find a series because we've only been getting these a few weeks, so I'm trying to find a series that I can start out with that I won't have a lot of back reading to do,
Right.
and I don't want to jump in the middle of it. Like I've been trying to jump back into Turtles because I'm really behind on it, so I just tried to jump right back into it last time.
So you read My Little Pony, Ponyville Mysteries, didn't you?
No. Yeah, exactly. That's the one. not knocking that book. I didn't read it.
No, not knocking it at all.
But I did read Judge Dredd Under Siege #1, which is right up my alley. It's good, man. The artwork is fantastic, and it's a Judge Dredd book to me, man. It's a Judge. It almost mirrors a little bit of the storyline from the movie with Carl Urban.
I love that movie.
From Dredd. Yeah, it's great.
That's a great movie.
But in this one, what's great is the name of the block in the city is the Patrick Swayze block. And so Judge Dredd has to go in because Judge Beanie has disappeared. They don't know where she went. She's completely disappeared, and they think she might have been captured. And they don't know the full extent of what's going on. So they said we don't want to send a lot of judges in there, and so Judge Dredd's kind of nominated to be expendable to go into this block. So he goes in and he ends up finding Judge Beanie, and she's pinned down because the mutants have invaded this block and have taken over the whole top floors of this high-rise building. And like the governor of that area of Mega City 1 is this guy that's also known as like a wanted criminal. And Judge Dredd has to work with that guy and some of the tenants in this building to try to fight these mutants off that are slowly taking over the building and the block. So it's an interesting juxtaposition of the law and the right thing to do. Right. A lot of it's like, Judge Dredd follows a strict code. He follows the law. He is the law. He says it many times. Yeah. Before Stallone, even he said it a lot. So I mean, he follows the letter of the law, but then it comes to this fork in the road for him. Like, do I kill this guy, judge him for the crimes he's committed, or do I, forget about the letter of the law and help these people in this building and do what's right? So it's this kind of moral dilemma for Judge Dredd, I think, in the book. But written by Mark Russell, artist and cover artist is Max Dunbar. Alan Qua, I guess, is another artist. I don't know if it's. I guess they worked together on it. It says artist and cover artist and then artist. So I guess there's two artists.
Alan Alda worked on this book.
And Jose Luis Rio is the colorist on it. It's pretty damn good, man. The art's real clean. It's
yeah, I'm taking a look at it now. I mean, it looks really, really good. The cover is I love the cover because that
the variant covers are there's a whole on our preview copy. There's a whole shows all the variant covers before the book, and man, some of the covers are awesome. It's really awesome. That first cover, you're absolutely right. It looks just like the Carl Urban movie because that's where they was in one of those big high-rise blocks. That whole movie. And it's like it's a gang of mutants. Like one of the guys, they're like all mutant guys. Like one guy's got like 3 arms that come out that tries to attack Judge Dredd. And there's a whole bunch of mutant slaughter in it too. Just Judge Dredd kicking ass. They're a part of it.
And what more can you want from a Judge Dredd book than him kicking ass?
It's fantastic. I think it's great, man. It was good to see a book that I can just jump in and start at #1 because I mean I can go back and read some of these. I'm not sure about IDW, but with Boom, there's a lot I'm going to go back and read because their previews are available all the time. But I'm not sure what the actual when they pull these on IDW yet. But man, really good Judge Dredd book. I would say if you're a Judge Dredd fan and it's very Judge Dredd. This is the character for sure, in my opinion. So if you like Judge Dredd, you will dig this for sure.
Definitely, and other, with IDW, I mean, there's just so much that they have out there, especially with licensed products. I mean, this week you're also getting Star Trek: The Next Generation Through the Mirror #5, which is one that you've reviewed in the past. Through the Mirror.
Yeah.
Star Trek Discovery #4, My Little Pony, Ponyville Mysteries #1, and we're not knocking the My Little Pony books, because I used to get the My Little Pony books for my daughter.
Yeah.
And there's some really good, there's a lot of good like pop culture references and stuff in a lot of those books.
No doubt. I mean, even the cartoon had adult, well, not adult, but I mean they had humor in it that is funny to adults. So and it's kind of spawned what I'm not, the brony culture is a foreign thing to me, man. But it kind of spawned a whole different genre of culture, and it's I don't really care about it, but I don't knock it. That's kind of how I feel about it. It's kind of not for me, but more power to you if you like it.
So, moving on, what did you get from Boom this week? I didn't get much from Boom. I was checking out the Labyrinth book. I'm getting into it. I got to go back because this is a further in the series of this mini-series that they're doing with Labyrinth. A fantastic artwork. But what do you got? What do you got from Boom this week?
This week I once again focused in on one book that I could just dig into and not have to do a lot of back reading and figure out what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So this week I chose the Kong of Skull Island 2018 special. Let's see. Get to the credits here. Let's see. It is written by Paul Allor, artist Dan McDade, cover artist, and the main cover, Dan McDade, incentive cover, Julio Dos Pastores, colorist, Marcelo Costa, letterer, Ed Dukeshire. This is a $7.99 book, so I imagine it's a pretty thick book. But
yeah, this is the 2018 special.
So, but it's a really cool original story in the Kong of Skull Island universe. Because as we saw at the end of the movie, they're planning on bringing in Godzilla and all the other kaiju monsters.
Rodan, King Ghidorah, or Ghidra, however you want to, whatever your preference to say it is.
Yeah, but this one's really cool because this is
it's Vikings.
It's an early Viking party crashes on Skull Island, and they see how rich it is in resources there, and they plan on just stripping the island and taking what they want and sailing back home. But this woman that's their leader, she wants to conquer the island, and she befriends Kong. She gets Kong on her side, and she uses him as her muscle. Do what I tell you. I got a Kong, and it ends up they end up sabotage. There's a mutiny basically, and they try to put Kong down, and they end up actually taking one of Kong's arms off. They cut his arm off somehow, and but it's interesting. It's a kind of a cool historical kind of throwback story. A lot of fighting of Kong. It's kind of what you want actually out of a Kong story. A bunch of guys fighting a big ape, but this time they're not using military grade weaponry. They're using arrows and spears and ropes and fire and stuff. So it's pretty interesting to see. And not to spoil it, but you can't really kill Kong. I mean, he kind of survives. But
well, wasn't it we saw in Skull Island? That island was inhabited by the giant ape, species for years.
That's well explained.
Yeah, because the Kong and Skull in the movie Skull Island was the last.
Yeah.
Kong.
As far as we know. I mean, we didn't really see everything. It could be maybe, but it was implied that he was the last of his kind. There was a burial ground of a bunch of Kong skeletons in that.
Go ahead.
I thought in the original King Kong, the old one, I thought there was a reference. I thought there was a scene that was maybe cut where there was another Kong skull, in a cave or something, where you saw that there were more than just him. But I
think so.
I'd have to look that up. If there's Kong people who are like, oh no, he did not. That's a bunch of crap. No, I don't know. That's just what for some reason that comes to mind that there's supposed to be a reference to more Kong in the original.
It's the same thing that Sinbad did a movie called Shazam.
It's another universe. I'm telling you, man. That's when they turned the Large Hadron Collider on over in Europe. That's when all this stuff started happening.
Yeah.
This weird deja vu stuff. I'm telling you, they screwed up the universe.
They did. I mean, look at the White House. It's all because of that. What I really liked with this book, though, I liked that, Kong fought these giant, like, chameleon-like creatures. They're basically like gigantic prehistoric chameleon hybrids.
Yeah. It's kind of cool because you get I kind of wish I'm sure there might be another series coming along in this at some point. Maybe there is another series I don't know about, but I mean, you get a little bit a sense of some of the scope of the island and what's on it through this comic book, because these Vikings lived there for a time,
right,
for a while amongst the wildlife, and have kind of an encampment there. And this woman uses Kong as kind of her muscle to stop giant chameleons and things like that. And but her people are just wanting to go home in this, and they don't want to deal with this island anymore, and they kind of want to strip it for whatever it's got on it and take it back. And one of the reasons they're trying to kill Kong in this too is they're going to skin him. So they talk about having enough fur from this to give blankets to like everyone in their village or something. But so like they kind of want his fur too. But I thought it was really good. I thought it was a really cool like a historical throwback King Kong story. It's definitely original. I've never seen another story like that. But very cool. I'd recommend it if you dig King Kong. And like it's another book that I'm more surprised by the variety over at Boom more than ever now. Just the kind of stuff they're putting out is it's pretty awesome stuff. It's not just your Cartoon Network books and My Little Pony type stuff, even though My Little Pony's IDW, but it's not like kids books. Like you're like I used to think of as or Boom Comics, excuse me. I used to think of Boom as more of like a kids book kind of publisher, because they did so many of the Cartoon Network books and things like that. And now you're getting stuff like you're starting to get stuff like Kong of Skull Island and like Abbott and those kind of books that we get in our studio press box.
Yes, indeed. Was that the only one from Boom you got this week?
Yeah, that was a big one though. That was definitely a long read.
Right.
But yeah, that's the only one. Like I said, I'm trying to jump into books in these since we started reviewing them, where I can start and kind of know what I'm talking about
right.
as I rather than try to like speculate on what happened 15 issues before. And but yeah, I'm trying to slowly work my way back in Boom so I can catch up to some of these other series they got going on. Like
All
Grass Kings, I'd like to read. The artwork in Grass Kings looks awesome. The Labyrinth books look awesome. I really dug the Dark Crystal stuff.
Everything in that Jim Henson world that they've got there at Boom is just amazing.
Yeah, they've got the right. I think they're using the right kind of artwork to pick that world. That's part of what makes it work, I think. Like the backgrounds are always these like really bright, vibrant pinks and reds and stuff, and just really almost kind of reminiscent a little bit of like Yes album covers, like Roger Dean artwork.
Right.
Like the way the world and like the worlds in those album covers look. But very cool. Like these other books, I'm gonna try to start going back with Boom, because they, like I said, they allow us access to some of their older releases. So I want to go back, and I kind of like to check out Power Rangers. I kind of like to check out
Power Rangers is really good. I enjoy Power Rangers. This one was this week you're getting a second printing of one of the previous Power Ranger books, but it's really a good series. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, well, like the covers for the Power Rangers books are always just amazing. The cover artwork is incredible, and I was thinking, man, I'm wondering how good that, like, story wise it is, because I haven't read any of them. But just looking at the covers of them, they're just incredible.
All right,
like comic art is improving at some of the indie publishers for sure.
Definitely. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's move on to DC because in my opinion, 3 really, really big books from DC this week.
Yeah, I imagine it's the same 3 that I've got.
More than likely. So let's start off and talk the wedding issue. Batman, the wedding prelude. Damian versus Ra's al Ghul. Let's go ahead and talk that one first because that's huge.
Yeah,
this
is where they're establishing some sort of relationship between Catwoman and Damian. Like
right.
they're out for their wedding fittings together. Like I'm assuming Bruce sent them together to get acquainted.
And now I think there's going to be several of these Prelude books.
Well, this one tied into the last one, so it was really cool how they did it. But
now, when you say the last one, are you talking the story that was in the
in the DC
Nation? Yeah. And I know there's going to be like a Catwoman one. I think there's going to be like a Harley Quinn versus Joker one. So I think they're all going to tie in because in this one, at the end of the book, Catwoman's coming back from her bachelorette party. So I'm sure like her book we'll see what happened at the bachelorette party.
Yeah, Batman to me is just, it gets better all the time. There's people that have problems with Batman, but it's one of those books you just don't cut from your pull. You always have Batman no matter who's doing it. It's like one of those books you don't get rid of.
Right.
And but I think Tom King has taken what Scott Snyder left him to work with and has turned it and twisted it his own way and just made it awesome. Like just about every issue that Tom King has written of Batman, I thought it was great. But this wedding stuff has been actually really good and not just some lame. It has importance to what's going on in the Batman's life and the wedding and everything. And it's not just like a boring wedding, like like lame, boring wedding thing. It's like actually has a lot to do with the upcoming showdown, probably with the Joker, I'm assuming, because the Joker's return after a while.
Right.
But man, I thought it was really good, and I love that the confrontation, like the confrontation between Ra's al Ghul and Damian is cool, and. Really good stuff, man. I think that, and I love that the thing with Catwoman and Damian, where she's like, I will never ask you to call me mom, but I will have your back, no matter what.
And this one was really interesting because Ra's was really playing, mind games with Damian. Showing. Hallucinogens. Yeah. There's the use of hallucinogens showing Damian when he's hallucinating when he's Batman. That the dark Batman future, and that talking about a true heir to Batman, which was the son of Bruce Wayne and Catwoman. Saying you are the product of genetics. I'm the product of love. It's a really awesome psychological look.
But it's also knowing that Damian Wayne is the product of genetics gave him the advantage because he's more like Bruce and figured it out. It didn't break him. Like he's like, wait a minute, this can't be happening. This is not like he comes out of it like on his own. He reasons it out the way Batman would.
He does, and I think in this one it really does show Damian has grown so much because he talks in the book, I've died, I've had powers, I fought my mom, this really shows this book shows I think so much growth in the character of Damian that we haven't really seen before, and I really really enjoyed that look and I'm glad that he's the first one that they kind of spotlighted in this series of Prelude books because of everyone, and he even mentions it in there in the book. He's like, Grayson, Todd, and Drake will pretty much go with whatever Bruce says, but he's the son of the Bat. He's like, he basically says out of all of them, I'm the important one.
So he's always said that. He's consistently said he's always, Father, why do these beggars constantly take from my fortune. He says stuff like he calls Bruce's money his. He says it's gonna be mine. It's gonna be
mine.
So.
But that's what I just really, really love that they spotlight him first, and really the dynamic with him and Catwoman has to be established because of what it means to Damian as Bruce's heir. You know, that it showed that there could be the possibility of another kid.
Well, I think through Teen Titans and through Super Sons, you've seen they've been maturing Damian a lot lately because he had the arc with Superboy where the Teen Titans were trying to capture and contain Superboy because he had exhibited this ability to go like supernova and just blow the crap out of stuff. And they were concerned about him, and they didn't want him to join the team. Like Damian wanted to nominate him for Teen Titans status, wanted Superboy to be on the Teen Titans with him, and they turned him down. And there was the whole arc where Damian was actually taking Jonathan Kent with him and hiding him out, and taking him all over the place to hide him, and from the Teen Titans, and so he showed that he values the friendship of Jonathan Kent lately. And he's also had to mature as a team leader for Teen Titans. Like he's trying to establish himself as the leader of that team, and he's learning how to run a team through that. So it's showed over the last couple of years that Damian showed a lot of. He's progressed a lot from the days of picking the bat signal up off of the roof of GCPD and flying around the city with it and shining it on criminals.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, this book, this one was actually written by Tim Seeley. It was Seeley along with Walker, Hennessy, Gray, and Belair. Fantastic. Yep. It's fantastic art. There's some really good action. It shows Damian, not only the Damian that we love, but it also showed. It showed that while he's still Damian, he still has a little bit of Ra's al Ghul in him because of the outfit he's picked. You know, he's going to wear to the wedding, you know, a wedding thob, but also shows he's a kid. He wants to play his video games. He breaks into an arcade because he wants to get the high score. Just the way he was written in this is just top notch. A plus.
Yeah. And I'm glad that there are these little tie-ins to the wedding. I mean, the wedding. Well, like I said, the other Marvel wedding issue. There's been several kind of wedding issues throughout the years, and they've always been kind of lame. It's always kind of cringy, the wedding stuff. But I mean, this is actually tying into Batman's whole life changing, and everything is now that he's with Catwoman. I think he's more at peace, Zen Batman than he's ever been in a long time, and. So it's definitely a change for the character, and all these tie-ins in this wedding story are pretty cool, especially with the possibility of the Joker showing up.
Oh yeah, definitely. And
that's what everybody's waiting for. Yeah, everybody's waiting for the Joker.
Everybody,
to come.
And I don't want to give it away, the ending of this book, but it does tie into DC Nation, the story, the Joker story in DC Nation, and it's we talked about it.
It's pretty brutal.
It's brutal, but it's also kind of like it really shows how dangerous Joker is.
And out of his mind, this completely.
This is more off the rocker than we've seen.
For no reason did he do this at all to what he did. I won't say what he did, but for no reason, had nothing to do with it. Like he's just a wacko. If you read the DC Nation, you know what I'm talking about. What he did. Initially how he initiated it. We didn't find out what happened to that guy. I didn't think. But...
No. Well, yeah, I think we kind of did, but
I won't say any more than that.
Yeah.
What a ruin.
So, moving on, let's talk about. And if you're dinging, I just sent you the banner for this week's review show, so you can take a look at it.
Yeah, it'll be on my phone. I'll get it later.
This week, we're also getting the first issue of the new weekly series from none other than Brian Michael Bendis. We're getting Man of Steel, #1.
Yeah.
And
I loved it, man. I can't say enough.
Good.
You know what? I had my problems with Bendis at Marvel for sure. Bendis angered me on so many different and it had nothing to do with anything more than I think there were some lazy moments in this Marvel
I think there
career.
was lazy moments. I still very much say Civil War II. The only reason there was Civil War II was to take Tony Stark out of Marvel Comics for a while to bring in Riri Williams. I think that's. I still say that's the only reason. Because what other than Tony than the introduction of Riri Williams, really, what ramifications did we get from Civil War II? This Ulysses Inhuman went off and
yeah, where's he? Nothing to do with anything anymore.
I mean, it showed a little bit about with Miles Morales and Captain America, which led into Secret Empire, but still there was in Battle of the Atom. I mean, our friend Coolbeer put the entire Battle of the Atom story arc in like 4 or 5 panels.
Yeah, well, that I had a lot of problem with that one. I had a problem with
Age of Ultron.
Civil War II. Age of Ultron, yeah, that too. And I had a problem with in Civil War II. Right at the very beginning, they made Tony's personality take a complete 180. It like totally turned around. Like all of a sudden, he wasn't for registering people with powers. All of a sudden, he was all about privacy rights and all this. Like, what?
Completely separate.
Why would Tony not be completely on board with this Captain Marvel plan? Why is he fighting this? Just to be contrarian?
Like I said, it was all so they could take him out and bring in Riri Williams. Now, Man of Steel, I'm honestly wondering if this is Bendis. First of all, bringing something fresh to Superman, but also knowing this is Superman. You cannot pull crap with the Man of Steel,
I thought it was great old school type Superman. Brought the red underwear back and everything. And
at the Daily Planet, him getting doing the stories, and
it's like he left Marvel and got a whole fresh outlook and just created an awesome Superman comic.
So there is this ancient Kryptonian. There's this Kryptonian bad guy who is talking to this council about how the Kryptonians need to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And this council is basically like, no, and not so many words. They'll destroy themselves.
And they were beneficial to some degree to that to people at that point. They said the Kryptonians have their own part to play, basically, which is their planet's going to blow up, whatever.
And I mean, what's really good is it's just it's like it really does feel like a Superman story. He's in Metropolis. He picks up Firefly and was it Firebug that he picked? I know it was Firefly, and I'm not sure if it was Firebug or.
It was Firefly, and he was in his bathrobe though. He wasn't in costume, so he's like, who was it? It's not Fire. It's I'm trying to think who it was. Because Firefly comes to get his money. They did a heist together, and the funny part of that is when that's where you get the super hearing aspect in, where he yells about his money, and the other dude's like, Don't say words like "Where's my money?" around here. Don't say that like that. In that tone, he will focus in on that, and he will be here in 2 seconds. If you're screaming stuff like "Give me my money," like Superman's listening everywhere.
Right? You sure it's not Firebug? I could have sworn it was Firebug. I know one of them is Firefly. We know it's Firefly, but I want to say it was Firebug. Well, I don't think we can pull it up right now. So I think it's gone now. But
the
only other Batman-based fire villain that I know of is Firebug, because they mentioned that they had moved Metropolis from Gotham to be safer because Superman scoops him up. Because of the superhearing, Superman scoops him up, and they were like, we left Gotham because Batman just drops you off a building. They actually say we left because Batman is too rough. And even Clark, Superman, he's kind of like, yeah, I think it's kind of funny when he does that.
Yeah.
And he actually said
he's like, he says, I don't do that. And he's like, Batman does or something. He's like, yeah, but it's funny when he does it.
So they show all this going on. Really, for a starting book, especially going to be a weekly series, I'm excited to see what Bendis is going to do next. The artwork is fantastic.
Yeah, the art looks good.
With Reese on the artwork.
I think he's really caught on to what Superman was, the great things about Superman, at least from this first issue, what I could tell. I don't know where the series is going to go, because I've liked a lot of Bendis'. The thing is, it's going to be the staying power of Bendis.
Yes.
Like, I've liked a lot of Bendis' stuff at the beginning. Like, Battle of the Atom, I was totally down for. A lot of the stuff I was totally down for when it started.
But as the
and
series
somewhere
went on,
in between beginning and the end, it got bungled somewhere.
But the artwork looks good. Superman looks like Now, I've always said I didn't mind the Kryptonian armor. I liked the Kryptonian armor look for Superman, but the red tights are just the trunks are iconic.
Superman.
And he looked like Reese is drawing him like you always remember Superman looking. Stoic, muscled, chiseled jaw. The hair, the blues in the hair, his ebony hair just looks right. It looks like Superman. Now my question is, when can we ever get the mullet back?
We don't need that
Can
back.
we please get the mullet back? When are we? What, they brought back the red trunks. When are we going to get the black and blue Superman outfit? When are we going to get that back? Is he going to get it? When are we going to see a resurgence of his electricity-based powers?
We don't need that.
Everything wrong with Superman in 5 seconds.
No, man, I thought this was just great, man. Like I said, I worried immediately as soon as I heard Bendis was assigned Superman, because I was digging what they were doing with Rebirth, like, so far. Like, I was really loving the father-son aspect of, like, as you heard in our interview from C2E2, I really loved the Clark trying to teach his son how to be the next Superman and how to be a good person and how to deal with his powers and all that. And I thought that was really well done. That could have been really fumbled up badly and cringy, but it wasn't. It was really genuine. A lot of the stuff in Clark raising his son and how they came out of hiding, like they've been hiding out, which I am assuming will be explained in Doomsday Clock at some point.
And just in case if you didn't hear that interview that Chief referenced, you can go over to the main Nerd Rage Renegade show, and it is C2E2 Part 2 comic interviews.
Yeah,
so you can hear our interview there, and it'll either be Doomsday Clock, but remember they have also said Super Sons is coming back. Super Sons is going to be back this year.
Yeah, I really like Super Sons. I think that I love the team up of Damian and Jonathan Kent, because they're just night and day. Damian's all clinical and clean and precise and is trying to be an adult, and Jonathan Kent is just all heart, like his dad. That's all he is. So, but they're really best friends, and their friendship really comes through in that book. I think it's really genuine. It's a really genuine type book, and I really have enjoyed the past year of the Bat family and the Super family trying to get closer, because Clark and Bruce work together and they're friends and everything, and their kids work together and they're friends. And so they're kind of trying to integrate as like
as best as possible,
family and friends. Yeah. So it's been very entertaining to watch. I even loved the double date issue.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Well, and for you with Superman, I knew when Bendis took over, you were worried also because Superman was your father's superhero.
Yeah, always has been. That's the one thing we got. Well, not one thing. But
that was one of the big things.
Many levels. But that was one of the early things. Always was Superman. George Reeves' Superman was my dad's hero. He watched that show. He listened to him on the radio, I think, before it was a show. He was a huge George Reeves fan. And when George Reeves committed suicide, allegedly, it broke my dad's heart forever. And it wasn't until the Christopher Reeve Superman movie came out that my dad really dug Superman again, like really jumped into loving Superman again. And so that was Christopher Reeves was the only Superman, like, after George Reeves, that my dad gave a crap about and thought it was really embodied Superman for him.
When did your dad pass? I forget. It was early 2000s, right?
Yeah, 2009.
Did he get a chance to see like the Superman animated series and things like that? Or was he...
Yeah, I think he did. He actually did catch a lot of those episodes and thought it was cool. He worked a lot when it was on, and this is like before we had DVRs and stuff to easily record this stuff. But yeah, he saw some of it and he dug it a lot. He liked anything Superman. You could put on anything Superman and he'd watch it.
Now, I will admit, I've always been more of a Batman guy than a Superman guy, just because, growing up in the 80s and 90s when they started giving him every superpower under the sun, there was that time frame where he really just did feel so he was OP.
Yeah, they overpowered him a lot, and they had to back that way off later on.
But that's why I was always more drawn to Batman, and I remember the Christopher Reeve Batman movies, but when I was growing up, I was born in '83. The Christopher Reeve movie had already come and gone in theaters, so the first superhero movie that I was able to go to the theaters and see, not counting the ultimate classic, the greatest superhero comic book movie of all time, Howard the Duck, was Michael Keaton Batman. That was my first superhero movie. So Batman was always stuck with me. And I'm not I don't regularly pick up Superman books. But this is one I am invested in because I'm liking, from DC Nation and this book, I'm really enjoying what Bendis is putting on the page so far. But like you said, I want him to keep the coal in the locomotive. Keep that train moving down the track. Don't run out of steam and have it go to a crawl and then some train robbers come and rob the train. Just keep it going.
And I'm not talking about little editorial mistakes either. I'm talking about major flaws that I can't get over.
Yeah.
Like the writing Peter Parker as Peter Parker instead of Otto Octavius.
Right.
That really bothered me. I couldn't get past that. Like the first two pages of that comic, it was real hard to forget that, to even pay attention to the rest of it. Like, wait a minute. That is supposed to be Dr. Octopus. That is not supposed to be Peter Parker's personality.
That doesn't make any sense. That storyline made no sense because there was that. You had the third Wolverine that we still trying. Where the mess did the third Wolverine come from?
I can't remember if they explained that was like a shape-shifting version of his son or something.
And if it was Dakin, who was it? And then, on top of that, I spent so much money on variants. That was back in my variant craze. I had to have variants. Now I'm like, now I'm like, the only variants I want are Sonic the Hedgehog. That's all I want, unless it's a Howard the Duck. But I
just buy them if they're cool. Yeah. Like if I see one that I think is really cool, then I
get one. The Age of Ultron ones were cool because there was every single one of them was like there was the set that was each cover was a different modification of Ultron. Yeah. But kudos Bendis on what you're doing now. It's a weekly series, so it's going to be every week.
I'm excited
so we're going to see this. The story is going to unfold quickly. I mean, this is going to unfold quickly, and if it's done well, like Batman Eternal was, because Batman Eternal was an excellent weekly series, we could be looking at something as a really good Superman story, something that that is desperately.
That's another worry though, because if he's got to crank that book out every single week for a long, I'm sure he's got this all plotted already. This first arc is already done, so he's not feeling the pressure of doing it weekly yet. But when that pressure of doing it weekly, that's where I'm worried he's going to drop the ball at some point. Because if he goes on weekly, I would like to see Bendis take this version of Superman and get a monthly series of his own, a Man of Steel monthly. Yeah,
because we know he's also
doing action. Give him the time to do it right. Yeah, give him the time.
Give him the time.
And if you rush Bendis, I think he's going to drop the ball, and I don't want to see that happen with Superman.
Exactly. And finally, the other big one of the week, of course, is Doomsday Clock. Doomsday Clock number 5 of 12 is out this week. Now, I had a little. First of all, let me just say I enjoyed it. My issue so far with Doomsday Clock is the pushback. Is because it gets the issues get pushed back. Because
but man, it's so good.
But that's the thing is it's so good, but it's one of those where because it gets pushed back a little bit more, I've got to go back and reread number 4 so I can remember what's going on to get to number 5. And
this one wasn't so bad for me. I jumped right back into this one. It wasn't that. It was been a while since the last one.
Yeah.
But I retained enough of it that I didn't have to reread the last.
And like we said, with this is honestly a Watchmen book. This is really not a DC Heroes book. This is a Watchmen book to the core.
Yeah. This is basically Veidt trying to save face by
Yeah.
by fixing things and finding Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
And finding out what's going on.
And
with DC characters thrown in it too.
Yeah.
And this one was really good because we got to see our first glimpse at like really Batman involved in the story.
Right. And I mean, we've seen Saturn Girls there now.
Yeah, that was a really cool, like, unexpected reveal too. Yeah. That's another thing I love about Johns is like he throws in these throwback characters, man. And it's like, here, you haven't seen this character in a while.
Next issue of
break that out.
Next issue of Doomsday Clock, arm fall off boy.
I honestly, with Johns, I wouldn't be shocked if he found some way to make that character cool.
So this issue, you got a couple different things going on. One, you got Rorschach and Saturn Girl breaking out of Arkham Asylum. You've got you've got Lex Luthor in the hospital. You've got the comedians out there, Batman and Ozymandias. But then you also have what is it? It's Mime and God, her name is escaping me right now.
I know well, like we were talking earlier, and I said the thing that's weird about what's going on right now is there are two major universe-changing arcs happening at DC, and they're all using the same characters.
Marionette, Mime and Marionette.
Marionette. Yeah, there you go. There you go. The Joker.
Looking for the Joker, and we do get our first glimpse at the Joker in this story arc in this issue, and he looks he looks pretty damn good. He looks classic. He really does look like classic Joker, not trying to look like not trying to look like a Ledger or a Nicholson. This looks like a classic 70s 80s Joker.
Well, that wedding DC Nation wedding prelude, he looked more classic Joker too. I'm wondering if that's the look they're planning on going with from here on out for a while.
I say that because for the last couple of years, what Joker have we've had? We've had Capullo Joker for the last year, which is a fantastic looking Joker. Yeah. This is more like like a throwback, what you would see in older comics Joker.
Like an old like 70s, early 80s Joker style, long skinny face.
But when I said I had to go back and reread, it's because I had completely forgotten how the ship got to that world, how Night Owl's ship.
Oh yeah, that was like early on though.
Yeah,
that's when Evan Rorschach and everybody jumped in.
That's right. That's right. See, and I'd forgotten that because it's been so long between issues, I had forgotten it. First of all, the artwork is fantastic, and the interaction between Batman and Ozymandias is fantastic in this. We get Batman
they're a lot of very similar guys. I mean, and I like that Batman knew who he was too. Batman's already figured it out. Yeah. But I like the scene where Vike gets out of the hospital. They've got him handcuffed. And we don't actually see how he got out, but we know he got out most likely brutally somehow.
Yeah.
And he got it and tells the cops, oh, you do have my clothes and my cat. I'll be taking those from you. So he just takes his stuff back. And that's a similar situation with the comedian. The comedian is just a badass.
That's how I was about to say that. I loved him because he's there. The cops show up. He's like, you got two options. You can either try to kill me and I kill you, or you let me go and I give you the information I've got. Pretty much in a nutshell. I read it a few days ago, so I'm remembering what I read.
Yeah, well, he's like you can just forget about me and walk away and pretend you never saw me, or I can cut your faces off, basically. Yeah. And it's like you can attempt to arrest me, and I'm just gonna stab you a bunch.
Right now.
And so then they just leave, and he just walks right through them and walks away.
Now, we had talked about it. The only thing that I have an issue with, and you said it's not really an issue for you, but for me it's still kind of it's not so much an issue as it is a nagging little thing in the back of my head. It's that little gnat bite that's like that gnat that's chewing on my ear, and it's like you swat it, and you think it's good, but then you feel the bite like 5 minutes later, and you're just like, God damn it. Is Rebirth, and by that, the whole New 52 has kind of now been established that Flashpoint was not really the catalyst for the New 52 timeline.
Yeah, they learned in the button that an unknown force has tampered with the timeline, and it wasn't It wasn't Barry Allen that
right.
it's got everything screwed up.
So, and we know now it's some way connected to Dr. Manhattan. Some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it's been implied. Well, we know he's in we know he's in the world. It's implied that he could be the Superman.
Right.
The old school Superman. It's been implied that it's him in a different form and Veidt even says, "Why did you come here? Did you think you could blend in with these people?"
Yeah.
Because there's so many amazing powered people in this world. And
that's it. Dr. Manhattan was the electrified Superman. He was the Superman with the electric powers.
But I mean, going back to the button, even they implied when Eobard Thawne is killed that it's Dr. Manhattan because his blue glow is the last thing you see. Right. You don't actually see him, but you see the blue glow, and then Eobard Thawne is like vaporized. Right.
And they made a big deal about the button, and it was a big deal early on in Titans with the pre New 52 Wally West coming back. That this is a huge thing, and what gnaws on me is the fact that in the main storybooks, in the main bi-monthly series, we're not getting any type of residuals from Doomsday Clock. And I understand Johns is keeping it contained within Doomsday Clock, but at the same time, there should be something going on.
It's weird because it's kind of in the same sense that Watchmen happened in its own universe.
Yeah.
When Alan Moore wrote it, it had nothing to do with DC books. It was its own thing.
It was Vertigo.
Its own universe. It had no connection to the DC world really. But they're keeping Doomsday Clock while they're integrating the Watchmen into the DC universe. They're keeping the Doomsday Clock story kind of segregated from the rest of DC and not letting it touch anything else.
Yeah.
As far as the button itself goes, I think in the story, what I think the importance of it is the fact that Dr. Manhattan took the comedian just the second before he splattered on the ground. He took him and took him somewhere else, teleported him out of there or something. They obviously found a body, I guess, and they buried it, but he had cloned him or something, maybe created a decoy body and took the comedian. I don't know how he worked it out, but somehow the comedian survived, and Dr. Manhattan's the one that saved him. And we know that because when the comedian wakes up, like in the ocean or wherever he wakes up, first thing he says is, "Doc," he's like looking for Dr. Manhattan. And so I think the significance of the button is it was the closest thing to the comedian's body as he was temporarily relocated by this unknown force. And that's why Bruce and Barry are studying. I could be wrong about that. That's just my theory, that the button is important because of its proximity to the body of the comedian when he was taken by Dr. Manhattan.
And like I said, the only reason it gnaws at me is, like the wedding of Batman has bled over into other books. The other story arcs that they do, other big events that deal with with this type of thing, it's in the other books. It's in the main stories. I mean, as much as it was a horrific, horrible abomination, Forever Evil was everywhere. It was in all the books. It was in all the stories, was Forever Evil. And now you've got Doomsday Clock, which is basically going to tell us what happened after Flashpoint. And what happened with the whole New 52, where were these characters that disappeared? This whole missing time, in the history. And it's nowhere anywhere else
And what happened to Wally exactly? Why was Wally trapped? Where did he go? Why was he written out of why was Wally taken away?
Yeah, what was the significance of Wally that Manhattan had to take him out of the equation?
Well, and Wally is the entire catalyst for finding out about what's happened. He's the first one that came back and told Barry someone stole 10 years from us. And that's what's kind of got Barry investigating the button and with Batman and starting kicking off this whole thing, and everything's starting to unfold. But man, if you got to enjoy the slow burn.
I do enjoy the slow burn. Like I said, I enjoy the slow burn. I love it.
It's not the payoff that Metal was a 6-issue series and a payoff with no justice afterward.
Bang.
And we're getting it. We've got it pretty regularly. This is something.
Even with Metal, it was bleeding into the other books. It was in Justice League and it was in Wonder Woman.
Yeah, well, we got a lot of one shots too with the Dark Knights and all that. But I mean, Doomsday Clock is, I think to a degree, the reason, I'll tell you, people can have their own reasons. That's fine with me. You can be angry or whatever, or upset. I'm enjoying the fact that I would rather Jeff Johns take his time with the Watchmen and write something brilliant than to slap that stuff out on the shelf, not completed or in a rush, and something's not right about it. I want them to take because they're messing with this is like Alan Moore's masterpiece, and they teach it in college and places. The Watchmen is like an important bit of comic history.
Well, yeah,
and I think that Jeff Johns is maybe I don't know what the actual reason is for why it's taking so long, but I'm glad he's got the time. I'd rather have the time to make it good.
And he's doing fantastic. And like I said earlier, it's a when you read it, it's a Watchmen book. Everything in this issue was Watchmen. It was, the countries not, the countries hating the heroes from the United States. That they're saying we will have our own heroes are going to protect us. We don't need Superman. We don't need the Justice League. We have our own heroes.
Well, I mean, it's the Outsiders. Batman's worked with the Outsiders before, and we also see
we saw Batman Inc. The Knights. We saw the Knights, which is basically Batman Inc. Their names were on there.
And it's as you see, like, well, we talked about this earlier today, and I said that I think that they're integrating the Bat family. The Bat family really in DC Comics is really the only family I could think of or group of heroes that would integrate successfully into the Watchmen universe, because they're all powerless, like real people with gadgets and things like that. They could, and it's like they're starting to bring the DC element in with Batman and the Outsiders and the Knights and the Joker and stuff like that. Batman's world is bleeding more into this story now than anybody else.
And Black Adam was in this issue, basically giving asylum, because basically all the other countries are saying all these metahumans, and even Lois Lane gets into that, saying we never really used the term metahuman until it became a buzzword, and you're even putting like Superman claiming he's a metahuman. He's not a metahuman.
He's an alien.
He's an alien, but they're putting metahuman on anybody with powers, which I think is where Batman plays a big part, because everybody knows Batman doesn't have powers. He's not a metahuman. But people are targeting metahumans. It's basically, it's like in Marvel, humans hating mutants, that whole thing. And they think there's this Superman theory, the Superman theory, with the United States, that the United States is creating these super metahumans, and Black Adam opens the borders of Kahndaq to any superhuman, any metahuman that needs asylum can come to Kahndaq.
Well, and now there's the Superman theory was put out too about the government saying that and saying the government created heroes. They try to claim Firestorm was a government experiment, and it was an accident. And Firestorm went on TV and even was yelling back at Russia about, no, I was an accident. You don't know what you're talking about.
He was arguing with the professor. That he's
like live on TV, and. So there's this theory that the governments are creating Superman, and there's now that Black Adam is they think he's amassing a superhuman army. All these other countries are racing to create superhumans and trying to create a superhuman army for defense or attack or whatever. It's become a thing. It's like a new arms race for the Superman.
And to me, that to me is so Alan Moore.
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of Watchmen overtones, more so than capes and cowls type DC universe.
Definitely.
But man, I'm loving it. It does take a while to come out, but like I said, I'd rather they give Johns the time to put it out right than to rush it and to be silly and to screw up the Watchmen.
Exactly. And I'm actually going to pick. This one I have to split it with two this week. I've got to split. My picks of the week, it's got to be Man of Steel #1 and Doomsday Clock #5, and of course Sonic is always my pick of the week over there at IDW. So
yeah, I actually enjoyed. I read No Justice this week as well.
Okay, I did not get to that one yet.
No Justice was excellent. What I kind of like that it's bringing kind of this. I don't know. It almost feels like an '80s kind of event in a way, with the way all the heroes are split up into teams. And a little bit reminiscent of the teams in Crisis when they had to split up
Right.
into different things. But I love that they figured out that they should have followed Brainiac's plan, and Amanda Waller kind of screwed it up by downloading Brainiac. And but this stuff with these world trees and stuff, and I will say that the celestial gods that are coming to destroy everything are very reminiscent of Celestials from Marvel.
Yeah.
they even look like them, like their armor and stuff looks very similar. But it's a different kind of concept. They're like coming to eat the fruit of these world trees that are these different trees, and that are growing. It's just this weird. It's kind of weird and bizarre. It's kind of a Scott Snydery thing.
Only from Scott. Only from Scott.
And I dig it, man. I kind of dig that Beast Boy is kind of. They put Beast Boy on Team Entropy, which was weird because that's a team with Batman and Lobo and like these hardcore people, and they put Beast Boy on that team, and he kind of doesn't really fit in with them. And I love that Lobo tells him just become the biggest, scariest thing you could think of. And so he does. He becomes this huge alien monster and just starts trashing everything. And man, I'm really enjoying No Justice too. But like I said, it gets kind of confusing having two major like
events going on,
universe-altering arcs happening with a lot of the same characters involved. You got because Doomsday Clock you definitely got Wally West and Barry and Clark and Bruce and you and the Joker now and like different elements of DC popping into it, and it's gonna start getting confusing. Like how does this affect Doomsday Clock? What's going on? But as we said, Doomsday Clock, I guess we're supposed to separate the way you separate Watchmen from DC books.
So what would you give as your picks of the week? Or pick of the week?
You know what? I would say since I only read one from Boom and one from IDW, and out of everything, as much as I like Doomsday Clock, I'm going to give it to Judge Dredd Under Siege #1. That's my pick of the week.
Fantastic.
Because I was pleasantly surprised at how good it was.
Yeah. All right. So with that is your books this week. Of course, a lot more also out there. If you're a fan of the DC crossovers with Hanna-Barbera, you got quite a few of those out this week. You get the Flash and Speed Buggy.
Yeah.
You get Super Sons, Dynamite.
Can Speed Buggy break the time barrier?
Can Speed Buggy break the time barrier? That is a very good question.
Put Speed Buggy on the cosmic treadmill.
Yeah. But you get, like I said, you get the Super Sons with Dynamite and the Blue Falcon, which I was always a fan of Dynamite and the Blue Falcon, so I kind of like that. You also get Black Lightning and Hong Kong Phooey.
Yeah, I saw some art. That looked actually kind of cool. I saw the artwork of the dog looked cool.
Hong Kong Phooey, he's the #1 super guy.
That's right.
And you also get Aquaman and Jabberjaw.
Yeah, I saw some of that too.
Yeah, so you get those out. Plus, also, if in the Aquaman and Jabberjaw, you also get a bonus tale. You get a bonus story in that, Chief, of Captain Caveman. Unga bunga.
Caveman's awesome.
I love Captain Caveman, dude. Those were my favorites. Captain Caveman and Nugget Nose. Those are my favorites, man. Nugget Nose. It's gold in the Nugget Nose.
Gold.
So those are your books this week. Make sure you head out to your local comic book store, pick up the newer books, but also see what they got in the back issues. A lot of times you'll be able to find a lot of great back issues, a lot of great stories in those bins. Make sure you go through.
Hey man, especially if you haven't read something like, let's say just like House of M, or for instance, or something. Usually those you can almost pick up like a whole arc for like $10. The back issue is like $1 piece, $1.50.
And wherever you're at, find your local comic book store. Follow them on social media. A lot of them will put up when they get books in. I know my shop. When he starts pricing books, he'll put them on Instagram and Facebook. Hey, check out these books I just priced with the price on them, and you could just message them right away and say, hey, that's mine. Give it to me.
Yeah. My shop put out a bunch they just got today, too.
So make sure you do that. Of course, every week this show is on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, and Player FM, and Google Play. And, of course, make sure you go check out this week's episode of the Nerd Rage Renegades podcast, where Chief and I want our MTV, where we
right.
talk the downfall of MTV and why I personally hate Carson Daly.
And why MTV used to be like really entertaining to watch at one point in history.
Exactly. So, until next week, be good to you, be good to each other, and be good to your comics. And we are out of here.
Good night, everybody.
Nerd Rage Renegades.